Hi guys, this is Sam with Spieler Custom Baits. Today we're going to be making a real simple crappie jig. We're going to be starting off with this pre-made number 4 sickle style hook jig. I've cut the collar off already. And what we're going to start off doing is we're going to add a little bit of adhesive. I personally use Loon Hardhead. And that's just to make sure that the thread gets a little bit better of a bind to that hook shank. I'm going to be using this 200 denier brown thread. And we're going to wrap that and tie that in. And back up to the head of the jig. And cut off that tag end. And today, to make this jig, we're going to be using fox squirrel tail, just the natural color. I really like using fox squirrel for a lot of my crappie jigs, just because the squirrel hair undulates really well in the water and gives it a really unique action. Not only that, with the fox squirrel, it has that nice banding in it. Measuring it up right there, we're going to trim that down and get rid of the guard hairs. And we're going to go ahead and bring that back in. Get a few ties towards the head and then tie that all the way down and back in. Rearrange it the way to where I want it and fully tie that in. And with this one I want a little bit fuller of a tail, so what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that process. Go ahead and grab off a piece of the squirrel hair. Getting rid of the guard. And let's measure that in. Trim it up a little bit. And tie that in where we want it. A few towards the head. And we're going to tie that back in. Alright, once we have the tail the way that we want it, we're going to go ahead and add a body to this. I'm going to be using a brown worm chenille for this one. Keeping it nice and simple. I'm going to start this one off real close to the head of the jig, just because I want it to have a little bit more of a body, and that'll help just bulk that up just slightly. Alright, and then keep it nice even wraps. We're going to wrap that around all the way to the head of the jig. Get that where we want it. And then hold that, and we're going to go ahead there we go. We're going to go ahead and tie that in. A few wraps on one side of the chenille, and bring that back, give it a couple of wraps there, and we're going to do that one more time just to make sure that that really stays in when it's in the water. Go ahead and snip off the excess. And then we're going to go ahead and tie that collar down. Cleaning that up a little bit, but also making sure that it's all going to stay in place. Once we finish, we're going to go ahead and do our whip finish. And I do mine twice just to make sure that they stay. Nope, a little bit too hard there. Go ahead and cut that tag end. And then we're going to add our adhesive to the collar of this jig, just to make sure that those threads stay in place. I usually use some sort of small applicator when I'm doing this, especially when I'm using worm chenelles, because worm chenelles will wick up the whatever hard head or cement that you're using, and it will cause the body to stiffen up. So just using an applicator, go ahead and just go over those strings, trying to keep off the body as much as possible. And there we have it. We have our finished jig. Gets a real nice action in the water, and it's ready to fish. Thank you guys again for watching.